Come on, Livingston. We gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Road is long.
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead!
Man, can score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates! And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta go.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Livi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name's Euan and today I'm joined by Angus. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not doing too bad. Eventful week for the club, plenty to talk about, and excited to get into it. How about yourself, man?
Yeah, very much the same as yourself. It's been another busy week. Midweek games again. They're becoming the norm since we've come back from the winter break, and the women's team were back in action as well. So we'll chat about that. But as always, you can find this episode as well as all our other episodes on your preferred podcast streaming site. Just search for Talk Livi, so follow us or subscribe to ensure that you don't miss another episode.
We'll start the episode off by discussing another busy week for the Lions. First up was a midweek home game against St Johnstone before Aberdeen made the trip to West Lothian.
The Lionesses were back in action, as I mentioned, at the Tony Macaroni Arena, this time on league duty, and we'll discuss all the action and late drama from their game against Ayr.
Euan spoke with Ramsay Banks from Staggies View to discuss our midweek trip to Ross County before we preview our Scottish Cup tie in the capital as we take on Hearts.
First up for the Lions this week was the visit of St Johnstone to West Lothian. A late winner from Ali Crawford would seal a huge 3 points for the visitors, who ended a 12-game winless run. Angus, not a great night all round for us, was it?
Nah, definitely not. I don't think the performance quite merited, the total kind of praising that the club's received in the last kind of couple of weeks. The club's been, doing tremendously well, on the pitch lately. That win against Hibs gave everybody such a massive boost, and perhaps has maybe put, a wee bit too much pressure on, the team, because everybody's went into this game essentially against St Johnstone and has been essentially saying that we're going to turn them over quite convincingly and quite easily. St Johnstone obviously coming into this with, no wins in like the last 10 odd games, 10, 11 games, whatever it was, sitting bottom of the league. Everybody was looking at that as, right, this is basically a given, but football's never like that, and we should know, especially with St Johnstone, that that's never going to be the case. It was this time last season that they ended up going on that minted run that ended up seeing them get a cup double. Not saying that that's going to happen again, especially since they've been put out of both cups. But
It would be very impressive this season if they managed to do
if
that.
Callum
given they're out
Davidson-
the cups.
do you know what's really incredible though? See if Callum Davidson did somehow pull it off, he probably still wouldn't get manager of the year in this country. But yeah, fair play to them. They finally got that hoodoo off their back. For us though, it was just bizarre how we just seemed so very, very nervous. Sitting there with my pal Blair during the game, especially Fitzwater and Oblai, it just seemed to be, from minute one, there just seemed to be such like an uncertainty between them. It seemed to be a shakiness which, hasn't been apparent for so long. And I don't know if it was, that expectancy for us to, go and take the game to them and, be the one to be in the ascendancy at all times and, punish them in that. But, a game starts off and, don't think any team was particularly better in that kind of first half. I think we were quite sloppy on the ball, but at the same time, St Johnstone, I thought, pressed tremendously well. I was really quite impressed with the work rate of Callum Hendry and Stevie May up front. Don't think they're two strikers who are necessarily going to batter teams, but they certainly made their presence felt. And, we've lauded, the performances of Fitzwater and Obalai all season, and they gave them quite a tough time. And, that first goal that Henry scores, it's an absolute cracking header. Was quite surprised that they'd sent him on loan to begin with at the start of the season, especially now seeing like their injury concerns and struggles up front. But yeah, that header that he scores past Stryjek is absolutely incredible. From there, you're kind of hoping on for us it would be a wee bit of a kick up the backside, and we eventually got that equaliser through, Alan Forrest doing some, absolutely tremendous work as usual down that left-hand side, cuts it back for Bruce Anderson to get yet another goal, which, again, is what we're hoping that the team will properly kick on from there, which I would say we did for, the first kind of 20, 25 minutes of that second half. I think we were really, really battering them. They were struggling to hold on. We were, kept on attacking, but it just didn't seem as if it was going to be. Unfortunately, you get hit by that late sucker punch when, you've not taken control in the last 25 minutes or whatever. At the end of the day, I don't think our performance entirely justified a victory. I wouldn't say that we deserved to lose the game. I don't think the performance was that bad. I think the performance is highlighted more because of where St Johnstone were sitting in the table, and obviously the high that we'd had from the weekend. But it's just one of the ones. I think we've just got to dust ourselves off and learn from the mistakes from it, which I'm quite thankfully we can actually say now we have done so. We've already put it behind us and we've made amends for it. But at the end of the day, it is extremely frustrating because you look at this as a massive 3 points dropped completely. And what would the league table look right now if we'd taken even like a point from this? We'd be sitting ahead of a couple of other teams. So not too great for a midweek game, but these kind of slip-ups happen for us.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you to a large extent. I think I was frustrated with the performance afterwards, but I think some of the reaction to the performance on the whole was a bit over the top personally, because I don't think we played as bad as some folk were making out in the game. I think you're right. I think Iowa and Fitzy looked a bit nervy, but I put that down to St Johnstone's press, as you mentioned. I thought tactically they were very good doing that. I think if you watch it closely, Hendry and May were right on top of Io and Fitzy at all times when they were trying to play out. We know that Jason Holt likes to maybe drop in every now and then to pick the ball up off them, and Ali Crawford was just shadowing him every time he came to get it. So anytime he did get the ball in the half turn, he was being pressed straight away. So we were really struggling to get out, and St Johnstone were forcing us into the wide areas where we know St Johnstone play wing backs. They could double up in those areas, and I genuinely think I was really impressed with how they pressed off the ball, their work rate off the ball. The Hendry goal, it's a very good finish by Callum Hendry, but very poor from our point of view. No pressure on the original cross into the box. And I think, again, if you watch it back, Hendry's dropped off and laid the ball off, and just nobody's picked up his run into the box. He's just ghosted into the box. Fitzy's too late to react at the end of the day. So it's a poor goal from our point of view. But talking about their press, the one time we bypassed it, I think was our equaliser. We went direct into Forrest. He managed to hold it up. We were in behind that midfield five, and he lays it back into Penrice, and it's a great little spin by Forrest to get in behind. And we spoke about it with the choice of going up top with Anderson, because if he gets a chance in this game, he's going to stick it away. And it was a number 9's goal, inside the 6-yard box, one touch finish, and we got level. And I think I agree with you as well. I think once we got the goal, I think it really kicked us into gear a little bit. I think we finished the half probably the stronger of the two teams, and I think for the first 20-25 minutes we were very good without creating a great deal of chances. Forrest had one which was deflected wide. He had a free kick superbly saved by Xander Clark as well. But I think St Johnstone gradually started working their way back into the game, and the game was developing that little bit of sense of something. There's a late winner coming here, and we spoke about it, previewing the game, Angus, that when you're on one of these runs, it needs to come to an end at some point. The law of averages would suggest they're going to win a game at some point, and that was my biggest fear about the game, and it obviously came to fruition with the goal at the end. And I think the defending from Io, I think, just summed up his night. In general, it was, he needs to just go and deal with the ball, put it out of play, and he'll take our medicine and go away with a point. And then Crawford's obviously tucked it away. We did have a chance very late on to snatch an equaliser when Nicky Devlin's hit the post. very, very unlucky. Obviously, Newbley came off the bench and did get sent off. We'll be having a bit of chat about referees, especially when we talk about the next game, but the 2 yellow cards are pretty harsh, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at them and that, the eagerness from the linesman for the first one, and it's just like, if you're judging him to have, like, swung an elbow there, it's like, come on. You can clearly see it's just like trying to, use the best of his body. If we're going to start giving free kicks for that, then in all honesty, Anderson should go down every time a centre half puts his arms around him. And then for it to happen twice and the referee to fall for it twice, it's embarrassing, really. Obviously, there's been absolute zero coverage, about an incident like this, which, again, we'll probably go to talk about that again when we go to talk about the next game as well. But again, it's just disappointing to see, we end up losing a player for, what would be a big game for the next fixture for essentially nothing. I seen St Johnstone fans moaning and seen Callum Davidson moaning about not getting a decision at the weekend, or the decision for their red card went against them. It's like, well, where is this when, you're on the better end of it, essentially? It's frustrating again. Like, it just sums up, the night as a whole. It's just, yeah, disappointing, frustrating, but hopefully it's something that, Newbley, won't ever have to deal with again. Maybe they'll have a wee word of him, keep the arms in a wee bit. But if he's just going to stand there and somebody's going to run into him, what much more can he do, to be honest with you? That's where you need the referees to be a wee bit more streetwise as well. Yeah, sure, the player's looking for it and all of that, but you've got to be smart out of it and, not fall for it because the guy's screaming loud enough for you. But yeah, can only put it behind us now.
And next up was the Battle of the Spaghetti Had. I think that's the best way to describe the game against Aberdeen, as despite the best efforts of referee Kevin Clancy, a game of football did manage to break out at times. And goals from Io Obalai and your man Alan Forrest strikes again would seal our first win at home against Aberdeen since 2004. It was a bit of a backs to the wall, nervy job come the end, but overall got to be pretty happy with the performance, given it was against 12 men.
Oh, absolutely. Aberdeen's always been our bogey team. Aberdeen with Kevin Clancy, though, I don't think we've faced such a threat this season. I think if we go on to all the stats of the Opta stuff and all of that, I don't think we'll see a player with such an influential performance against us as Kevin Clancy did there. But to actually discuss the game of football that played there, thought we were excellent. We've always kind of talked about when we do previews and all of that Aberdeen seems to be like our bogey team. They always seem to play. In a lot of cases, they'll be on quite a bit of bad form, but somehow manage to pull a result against us, or just manage to do something to get themselves over the line without playing too great. And it was great to see us start off so well and getting that early goal. Just to talk about that early goal to begin with, Obalai's wee flip.
Oh, it was filthy. It was utter filth.
Absolutely incredible. Taking what is a wee bit of a stramash in the box where there's just bodies and all of that, for Anderson to fire the ball at him, and if he doesn't touch that, there's no way that's going in. And if he doesn't touch it that perfectly, because it looks so right over Ramirez as well, you see Ramirez getting onto the line, and anywhere else he's clearing that, but just the wee bit of a loop on it is absolutely marvellous. And again, it's something that should be getting a wee bit more coverage, because how many centre halves in the league are going to be able to pull off a wee turn like that? I'll tell you, none, because none of them are Io Ovalai.
Exactly. None of them are Io. Io, you're an absolute baller, big man.
Honestly, that finish is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So fair play to the big man, in that kind of situation, just, casually pulling that out the bag like it's absolutely nothing. But yeah, going on from that, I mean, I think, the highlights basically paint the picture of the game. I've seen a lot of Aberdeen fans moaning about, their own performance, and they're like, geez, watching the game, watching the highlights from, Sportscene and watching it from, Sky Sports and all of that. The chances are all Livi up until the second half. They were extremely slack on the ball, which led us to, pressing them up high in the pitch and getting a few chances in. And again, with Aberdeen, we were also thinking, is this going to be another one of the games where, we've taken the lead, but we're not going to properly capitalise on, the dominance that we've had. Thankfully, though, coming into the second half, the best player in the world, Alan Forrest, sealed the game to an extent for us. Again, this season, we've talked about it a couple of times that, after the second half started, we've conceded a lot of goals, happened against Aberdeen in the first home game of this season. So absolutely delighted, that, we came out the traps flying again, and, absolutely delighted for Forrest as well, because, you know, obviously we've been a massive campaigner for him on this podcast, but the performance he's been putting in, you know, since the kind of debacle over like his future have been absolutely superb. I don't think anybody can ever fault, you know, what he's done for the club in recent weeks, and that. Yeah, and the finish itself is absolutely tremendous. Beats the offside trap, and it's a delightful little dink over Woods. Going on from that though is when, you know, I guess the game started to get a wee bit cagey, a bit ratty. You know, yellow cards being handed out, you know, as if it was a kid's birthday party or something like that.
Would turn up at a kid's birthday party and yellow card the kids, wouldn't he?
I bet that guy is just like on a walk right now, yellow card and lamppost or something. Absolutely. Honestly, that guy, he needs to calm down.
By the way, just to sum up Kevin Clancy's recent form, I'll credit Pie and Bovril for this, but Kevin Clancy has gone card crazy over the last few weeks. He's shown 35 yellow cards and 2 red cards in his last 4 Premiership matches, which is an incredible average of 9.25 cards per game. Right. Now, we spoke about this, Angus, yesterday when we were at the women's game, but every time I've watched Kevin Clancy, it seems to be a regular thing that he seems to lose a bit of control of games. And it's because he almost sets a rod for his own back early doors by dishing out yellow cards for pretty nothing incidents and tackles. And the prime example, I think, is Montano's first yellow card. Yes, it's a trip. Yes, it's a foul, but it's in a nothing area of the pitch. It's not a yellow card. And he gives Montano a yellow card. And I think the incident that led to Montano getting sent off has been built up by Kevin Clancy's lack of control of the game. And as I think Callum Carson reported, it ended up just like a fight in the playground for several times during the second half in particular. And he just lost complete control of the game. But, you know, we'll try not to talk about Kevin Clancy, but I'm going to, because there's 2 major incidents which he managed to cock up in the game. But, you know, you talk about Ayo's goal. It's an unbelievable finish from Ayo. I didn't appreciate it quite at the time because I'm at the opposite end of the ground in B1. So, because there was a lot of bodies in the box, didn't quite appreciate how good a finish it was until I saw it in Sports Scene. But Soccer AM, if the entire Showboat section is not dedicated to that man's goal, then I think you should be taken off here. It would be a disgrace. But I think, as you mentioned, first half, I think the thing when we play Aberdeen is I think Aberdeen have had our number because they've been very good at winning the battle against us and winning the scrappy side of the game against us, and then their qualities kind of shone through. I think we realised we maybe had to be a bit more physical against them to win that aspect of the game, and I think first half it showed. And I think we were very aggressive in terms of our pressing. I think we created the better chances. Montano had an effort, which was saved by Woods. Forrest had one over the bar as well. Aberdeen, I mean, I made notes, nothing of note for them in the first half. And then, as you say, Alan Forrest goal. It's a great through ball by Montano on the turn. Forrest, calm as you like, and I'm sure you'll be starting a GoFundMe page so that you can get a statue of Alan in your front garden at some point, just running away, celebrating another worldie of a goal. But
it seems to be quite strange that, you know, ever since I sent, you know, Bruni the page for the programme last week with the, you know, the novella of, you know, the plea to keep Alan Forrest at the club, that he's got this resurgence in form. So hopefully, you know, maybe it's turned his head a wee bit. Who knows?
Just sign the deal, Alan. Just sign the deal, please. But, you know, we could have had the game out of sight. You know, Holt's had that effort that's been tipped onto the post. It's a great save by Gary Woods. And the first real chance that Aberdeen have created in the game is their goal after 65 minutes. Ramirez, it's a very good finish. Poor defending from us. I think we need, on our right-hand side in particular, someone needs to just come and deal with the ball. But they've worked their way back in the game, and it did end up being a bit backs to the wall. Might I add, before the boys at Red Tinted Glasses mentioned that I hadn't mentioned this, I think Aberdeen fans were equally as frustrated with Kevin Clancy's performance, because I think they were denied an absolute stonewall penalty first half on Lewis Ferguson. I think Nicky, as much as we love you, Nicky, you've got away with one, big man, with that one. But so Glenn, Callum, we've mentioned it, don't worry. But yeah, I think after that, I think Aberdeen were the team in the ascendancy, and we had to show a bit of grit. Max has made a fantastic save from a Lewis Ferguson header. The next big incident was Montano's second yellow card. I mean, how you can get a yellow
card. I've never seen a softer red card for 2 yellow cards. The guy's actually been done so dirty here.
I think the only one that's softer is Nubly's on Tuesday night. So my summary of the incident is Bruce Anderson gets fouled. I think it's the boy Bazawin tries to push him off the pitch. Then Anderson pushes him back. And the best way I can describe what Christian's done is helped him go to the ground with Bazawin. And he's managed to get a second yellow card. But the only thing I can criticise Christian for is that he's on a yellow card and he's in and about that incident.
You can't though. You can't.
I think that's the only thing I can genuinely come to terms with, is being what he's done wrong in that incident. But dear God, it's just appalling. Like, all the major decisions Kevin Clancy managed to get wrong. But that's the last I'm going to say about him. I'm now going to talk about, Jet had a chance, which was cleared off the line. Morgan Boy's sublime clearance on the line, and Max's came with a couple of big punches late on to take the pressure off us. But what I loved at full time was the passion from some of our players and the staff coming off the pitch. Obviously Gaffer, Davey, Nicky giving it the big fist bumps to the crowd. Morgan Boys, he's just in the door. He's absolutely loving it on the pitch. Penners loves a fist pump to the crowd as well. And then Omiyonga, I honestly think he might have fractured a rib. He was beating his chest that much going towards the tunnel, beating the badge, and I absolutely loved that from the players at full time. And I think I tweeted it over the weekend that over the summer, I almost feel there was a bit of a disconnect because of the number of players that had moved on. And we were talking about it yesterday. It was guys that have played a big part in us getting to where we are now, the likes of Scott Robinson, Josh Mullen, John Guthrie. Marv's no longer playing, for example, and a lot of new players which you don't have that emotional attachment to as such. And I think since we've really built that identity again since October, where our form's kind of turned, and I think you're starting to see that real connection between the fans and the team again, which is beautiful to see, because I think that's a big part of what's got us to where we are today as a football club. Going back to when we got relegated to League One, I think there's that connection has been there between the fans and players, and I think you're really starting to see that again. But unbelievable result. I think it's probably the most satisfied I've been after a game this season, most buzzing I've been after a result this season, which says a lot. But it was a big result for us in terms of, as I say, just keeping the distance behind us. But I'm one of these cautious ones, and I'm too concerned what's going on behind us in the league. But we've got an opportunity the rest of this month to really push towards potentially creeping into the top 6 again.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, regarding, the kind of scenes at full time, and that it's just the kind of bare minimum as you want to see from, your team after like such a big result in that. And yeah, the footage that, the guys from the media team have done tremendously well to, to capture and all of that. That's exactly what you're wanting to see. And you can't help but get caught up in amongst it. You mentioned like Devlin. Boys come in a wee bit of a fan favourite already, just because of that, already buying into it and, giving it large in that. But yeah, played a big part in, that clearance off the line as well. So yeah, absolutely, man. Like get stuck in. Yeah, Omiyonga, everybody's sweetheart just now. What a lovely wee guy he is. But I guess not everything following this match was extremely positive, Euan. And I guess we'd be avoiding a big elephant in the room if we weren't to talk about, the whole Caleb Chukwuemeka situation. Obviously came on and then was subbed off again, and then there's a wee bit of criticism of the player's performance, online, which led to, maybe a couple of the club officials and that discussing about it as well, publicly, and obviously other people connected to the club as well. First of all, what's your kind of thoughts on the situation of him coming off? Obviously, it's not something that's happened. It's the first time it's happened, with Livy and that, and then essentially the situation as a whole.
Yeah, I think personally at the time of the game and the way the game panned out and the manner of it, in terms of it being a bit gritty and a bit nitpicky with decisions and things like that. I don't think it was the right sub at the time, especially as the red card was given and we were going down to 10 men. I think there's maybe a touch of criticism towards the management team for putting him in the position in the first place. But regardless of that, I think Caleb had to show a bit more when he was on the park as well. I think what you're expecting him to do is to hold the ball in, press their centre halves, press their full-backs, drag us up the park as much as we can to take a bit of pressure off, and I don't think he did it. So I do think the management team were then correct to take him back off, because I don't think he was doing the basics right. But I'm not going to jump on this bandwagon or send him back to Aston Villa. He's a young lad. He's 19 years old. I know he's had kind of almost a half season at Northampton where he's played first team football. The lad's got a lot to learn, and I've seen glimpses of him to think that he has a bit of ability about him. And you talk about the comments from players on social media afterwards. If anything, I like it because they're defending their teammate. I'm a big fan of that, and I think again that goes back to what I was saying. There's that unity within the group, and they fight for each other. I remember one person criticising a player. This was back in the Championship season, and it was towards the playoffs. And I don't know which fan it was, but they put up a picture of Craig Halkett DMing them saying there's no need for the criticism, especially at this time of the season. I like that from your players, and Nicky obviously being one of them who's captain as well. I think it speaks volumes of him as a guy in general. Caleb will have a lot to learn, and hopefully it gives him a little kick to let him know, look, you're going to have to work really hard whilst you're here at Livingston, because that is the ethos of this football club. And I think there's faults on both sides. I'll put it that way. But I think that, to summarise, the substitution I think was the wrong one. But I also think the right decision was made to take him back off the park. Yeah,
I think it's a very interesting kind of situation here, because from all viewpoints you can essentially see, what everybody's kind of thinking regarding it. The fans, I do believe, have the right to be unsatisfied with a performance if it appears that, it's a lack of effort more so than anything, and what maybe was what appeared to be the reason as to why he was taken off. At the same time, though, he's a Livingston player, and we should be supporting Livingston players. We shouldn't be getting a siege mentality or getting all against them just because of a couple of bad performances or that. Sure, it might not be your favourite player or that, but whenever he's wearing our Livy top, I'm going to be backing him until the end of the whistle, until the final whistle. But yeah, maybe sometimes the criticism goes a wee bit OTT. You don't need everybody piling on a young lad in that as well. But again, fans are obviously going to be, we'd be hypocritical to say that we're not, as we're talking about everything on this podcast right now, Euan. But yeah, I guess there's ways going about it. And again, yeah, I think Nicky Devlin's absolutely spot on with the way he's kind of went about it, coming out and just saying, yeah, he'll be back, don't worry about it. He's a great guy, great work ethos and that. And yeah, we've just got to take the word for that, and hopefully the performances will show in a wee bit. Don't think that the likes of Callum Carson's, comments are wrong at all. Don't see any issue with them. As a person reporting that, there's
he's an Airdrie fan. School.
I guess as much as I'd love to agree with you there, everything there's kind of fine. I think Marv as well. Like, he's entitled to to defend his players and that, and he's went and done so. I guess it's just something we're going to have to move on from, and hopefully, at the end of the day, we're going to see Caleb's, true qualities come through, and hopefully it comes to, some more good performances for us and some good victories for us as well. There's still a lot of games left to be played this season, and hopefully he'll have a bigger part to play. And this is just, the kind of kick up the backside that he needs. But it's not going to be easy for him. He is going to have to win over a lot of fans. But if he's going to make it in the Premier League, then this is the kind of challenge that he should be looking at and, reveling in, to be honest with you. But yeah, any further thoughts on the situation as a whole?
Let's just finish it off on the positive. That unbelievable victory at home to Aberdeen, big 3 points, and we absolutely love our team.
women's side were back to league business as they welcomed Ayr to the Tony Macaroni Arena. A second half comeback with goals from Jen Dodds and a stunning free kick from Jenna Mason, with the last kick of the ball sealed a huge 2-1 win for Livi. Euan, what did you think of the game?
Yeah, it's the first time I've managed to get down for one of the women's games in a wee bit, just because of their commitments on a Sunday. So it was good to get down and watch the girls in action again. Angus, if you were frozen last week, I'll tell you what, the pair of us, my feet it was actually sore walking back to my car. My feet were that cold. So once again, fair play to the girls for putting on a spectacle and putting on a good showing. But yeah, I think we talked about it briefly last week that this was quite a big game. Ayr in the mix for promotion again this year as well. So Livi started off maybe a little bit slow. Dodds had a chance where she got in behind. Keepers managed to block it. Ayr had a free kick which came off the bar. We had a couple of headers that were over the bar from Jess Murphy and Shannon Mulligan, and Vicky Wood had an effort that was saved as well. But Ayr managed to go in front, and to be honest, there's not an awful lot you can do about the goal. It's an absolute screamer from about 25 yards and off the underside of the crossbar. There's something about efforts that go in off the crossbar which just look amazing, isn't it? I don't know what it is, but there's just some real satisfaction when one goes in off the crossbar. But it was a terrific finish, and I was quite impressed with Ayr. I thought they looked really well organised, and they offered a decent threat going forward in the first half. I think Tasha Frew had a good chance at the back post first half to level it, but has hit the side netting with it. So I think there was chances in the first half, but I don't think we were quite at it. I think second half, we really started to turn the screw and put a lot of pressure on there, and I think it finally told. Jen Dodds hit the post, probably should have tucked it away, but she did follow that up with a goal. Scrambled it in over the line. It was a great delivery from the corner as well. And after that, again, it was a matter of time. It just felt like there was another goal coming, and there was still chances. I think Jess Murphy had a header that was off the bar. We were really peppering the goal. Following that, Ashley Fish had a header cleared off the line, and it was just there was a little bit of you that's going, it's going to be one of these days, isn't it? What a way to win the game. Gemma Mason, free kick, postage stamp in the top bin. It was unbelievable free kick, an unbelievable way to win the game. And when we say with the last kick of the game, it's a phrase that's used. It was quite literally the last kick of the game. The ref blew the whistle about 10 seconds after the ball had hit the net. What a way to win the game. And it's a massive, massive 3 points for the girls as well in terms of trying to go for promotion. But what was your thoughts on the game overall, Angus?
Yeah, not too dissimilar from you. I thought the first half we were lacking a wee bit of quality, especially kind of going forward. Get into some decent positions at times, but not having that killer instinct. We had plenty of chances, to take the lead or to get back into it before half time. It's kind of been a story at times this season. Spoke to Paul Giaconelli quite a few times, and he's been saying about certain games this season against teams at the top of the league that the issue has been killing the game off or doing enough to get over the line. The 2-2 against Renfrew, the 3-2 against Carrick-Cairn are just examples of that, of teams up around them who they've had plenty of chances to kill the game but haven't quite done so. And you're absolutely spot on that it seemed as if it was maybe going that way as well. When it was 1-0 down and Jen Dodds hit the post with that effort, that made me think that right, it is literally going to be one of those days for us, because that was as gilt-edged a chance as you can get. Thankfully, Jen made up for it straight away. I mean, if she'd missed it from that 1 yard that it was out, I would have been really, really concerned. It would have certainly been one of those days. But, Jen having an absolutely tremendous season, I think she's very close to catching up Ashley Fish now in the goal-scoring charts. I think she's only one away from her now. I think that's her 14th goal of the season. 2 strikers between them, 29 goals. Not too bad at all. But yeah, fair play to the lassies. They kept on pressing on, kept on looking for that goal. And the goal was only going to come from one team. I don't think Charlotte had much to do in our goal in that second half. Maybe coming to collect a couple of balls with that and, just laying it off to, a few Boslem and stuff like that. But yeah, kept on plugging away, and you get a free kick in a dangerous position there. Usually we're used to seeing Rachel Walkinshaw taking free kicks and that from that kind of area. Obviously she was missing from this game, but yeah, Gemma Mason, I think the club account put out a photo of, what was it? Who would you want taking a free kick in the last minute? Beckham, Ronaldo, that? Nah, Jeremy Mason. And based off of that, yeah, can't disagree. Absolute postage stamp, tremendous free kick. And, just the proper jubilation that came from, that goal was absolutely tremendous. You can see just how much it meant to them. You can also see how much it meant to them with Sharon Hughes-Lee's knee slide towards the photographers. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think that, they would have been very gutted if they hadn't got the victory following the performance that they had given. But yeah, managed to do so, and very, very pleased for them, and hopefully can kind of keep this form going on and kick on for the rest of the season.
Exactly what you said there in terms of the games I've seen this season when they've played the kind of teams in the top half of the table, maybe with that little bit extra quality. It has been a case of just putting them to bed. I think they're obviously more than competitive against these teams. They're creating plenty of chances, but it was starting to feel like one of those days where you've hit the post and crossbar. I think there was another one in the first half where Vicky's cross hit the bar as well. It was just feeling like one of those days where nothing was going to fall. But as I say, there's nothing better than a last minute winner, and especially when it's a goal like that as well. It's a terrific free kick from Gemma Mason, and it's the best way to win a game of football, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Just when it says that, just like the nestle in it in the net, and then just the absolute scenes after it, tremendous. Can't ask for much more from that. But more importantly, big 3 points. They leapfrog here in the table now, and get closer to the teams at the top of the pack. So happy days all round. Let's just hope maybe the next time the weather will be up a couple of degrees. Don't know what it is about 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon in 2022 that's just bringing out the worst in the weather, but hopefully a brighter day next time, and another 3 points to go with it.
I'm delighted to welcome Ramsay Banks on from the Staggies View. Ramsay, how you doing?
Not too bad. Cheers for having me. How are you?
I'm all good, mate. All good. Obviously,
Good.
Both our teams got good results this weekend, so should be in decent spirits heading into Wednesday night's game. But it's been a bit of a slow burner for Ross County this season, wasn't it? After a bit of change in the summer as well. What have you made of Ross County's season so far?
Yeah, it's the slowest burning slow burner I've ever seen. We didn't win in our first 10 games. Tom Parks put in a last minute winner against us when you played us at home last time, and that sent us into panic mode if we weren't already in it. We went on the podcast and slated Malky Mackay pretty much more than we ever had before. Well, that's a lie. We slated him a lot at the very start. But then on the Wednesday, we went and beat Dundee 5-0. So, and ever since then, it's been on the up. We've had a few blips, but I think what he's done more than the attacking players we have right now is show us how good our defense can be without all the dumb mistakes. That it still makes, to be fair, but it shows us how good we can be when we are switched on, basically.
Yeah, because I think even with your start to the season, I think County were decent enough going forward, but it was at the back they just seemed all over the shop, wasn't it?
We fell apart. We had our new centre backs who meant to be have proper experience ducking under balls and letting strikers in. But I think it was Brophy that went behind one of our players, and let's move on.
But Malky Mackay, you mentioned him there, was appointed manager in the summer. Yogi left as well after keeping you up. What was the reaction like to the Malky Mackay appointment? Because I know he's obviously got a bit of baggage incidents in his previous jobs.
I've never seen, well, I've not been on Twitter for long, but I've never seen County Twitter so united behind being against something. It was mad. That was a mad week or month or so. None of us wanted him in. I was fizzing proper. I was mad about it. But ever since then, there's always that peak of just rage.
Yeah.
Then he starts the season, then it starts to level out a little bit because people understandably want to get on with it. But then we had a blip where Giandro Fuchs, we were away at Tannadice, allegedly got some racial abuse from our crowd. And then I think nothing really came of it. But after the game, Malky Mackay had a bit of a go at Town Courts for putting up the show racism, the red card.
Yeah.
shirt up to our fans. So that put him down in our some people's estimations a little bit.
Yeah.
But since then, he's actually been fairly decent. Like, it's another question altogether whether it's been properly genuine. I don't think we'll ever know that. But he threw himself pretty enthusiastically behind the Rainbow Laces campaign, which I thought was good. And obviously, what I'm about to say is the bare minimum. But the black players in our squad, like Kane Ramsay, has just come in, and obviously the notable Regan Charles-Cook and Joseph Hungbo seem to really rally behind him. And he seems to, he talks them up really well. And he obviously threw himself behind the minutes applause we did for Charles Cook after he got abuse off Rangers fans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's still a difficult one. And I don't think he'll ever win everyone over. But I'm content at this point, I guess. And yeah, he's playing well, which I guess helps.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a little bit of it at our place as well, in terms of, Davy Martindale obviously has a past that has been spent time in prison as well. But I think Davy's even aware of it, that there'll be some people that just won't let it lie, and it'll always come back and rear its head again and again every now and then. But for the most part, Davy's done a lot of good in his life to kind of turn that around. So I think most people can see
he's like the blueprint for rehabilitation, isn't he?
Yeah, he really has turned out to be that. But I think, that's the thing with Malky Mackay. Obviously not condoning what happened in his previous job at Cardiff in any way whatsoever. But I do believe he's done the courses and expected to do, to show that he is learning and rehabilitating in some capacity. So, it was obviously a bit of a controversial appointment, as you say, but I'm glad to see that he is doing things to maybe help change that perception that he has had in the past.
Yeah, I will say that the courses he did, I think when he was at the SFA or before that, they didn't win me over until a couple months into the job, where he actually started applying some of that when these issues came up. But yeah, you are right, I suppose.
And as I said, it was a very tough start to the season, which you mentioned yourself as well, with a few late defeats, including one that I was particularly fond of, which was Tom Park's late winner up in Dingwall. Did you see enough from the team prior to that to think that you might be able to turn it around?
Before this, I've supported Ross County all my life, and do you know how mad that is that this season and even further into the season, I had never ever been more confident that we were going down. We've had some stinking transfer windows in the summer, and I've never been so confident we're going down. And now do you know how weird it feels to be looking up the table at the teams above us after the form we've been in? I forgot the original questions.
We had it at the start of the season as well. We had a massive turnover in the summer with players, coming and going. And, we didn't get a win until the Celtic game, which was tail end of September. And we were probably, a lot of our fans were maybe starting to think a bit like you just said there, that we are in a proper scrap this season. And since October time, round about the same time as yourselves, we've just gradually turned a corner and it started to look a bit rosier. And as you say, you're looking up the table now, aren't you?
What changed for you, your team, that made you look up?
I think it was the consistency aspect of it. I think we talked about it on the podcast as a bit of an identity crisis, but I think that came with, you've got 15, 16 players leaving, then the same amount coming in. It's going to happen. And I kind of mentioned it on Twitter yesterday. I think October time, you started to see a bit of the Livi you almost come to expect, being really aggressive in the middle of the park, pressing, working
hammer
hard.
Throwers then.
Oh, don't give me the hammer throwers tag.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I had to say it. I'm sorry. That's enough from me now.
But I think that was the big turning point, was probably the week before we beat Ross County. We beat St Johnstone. Scott Pittman was back in the team as well, who kind of makes us tick a little bit. And there's been a bit more consistency with the team in terms of selection-wise. And I think, again, if you saw any of the stuff on social media, you see the players connecting with the fans and things like that. I think that's really started to show in the last month or so. And the team has that identity. I kind of associate this Livingston team again with what I come to expect of a Livingston team, certainly since Davy Martindale's been in and about the club. But what was it from a Ross County aspect, Ramsay, that really turned the corner for you?
I guess in retrospect, on the footballing side of things, wanting Mackay out at that point was probably silly because we actually had been playing pretty well. We just weren't getting results. Like going forward, we were really fluid. We just weren't putting it back in the net. I think at that point, all our strikers, we had 3 in the squad at that point, had a combined 3 goals, and Jordan White had 2, and that was a penalty. But we've had, obviously, Regan Charles as a winger. We've had people all across the pitch chipping in. Our centre back Jack Baldwin's been chipping in a lot. I'm trying to come up with something more than we started putting it in the back of the net. But that is just it. Like, we were so useless in front of goal up until, and then something just clicked just like that. 5-0 at Dundee. Like, it's as if all the XG we accumulated across the season started going in that one game. Yeah, and ever since then, it's been a bit more consistent.
Yeah, even not to bring it back to our late win up in Dingwall, but even that game, you battered us. How we went in at the break in that game 2-1 up, I still don't quite understand how we managed it. Because I think that opening 25 minutes, half hour, is arguably the worst we've played this season. And we've had some poor performances, like at Pittodrie and Tynecastle, we were really poor. And that first half hour up in Dingwall was on a par.
Yeah, we had 2 penalties in that game. I think when White missed it, we were just kind of like whatever. And I actually think the way Calacan scored his penalty made it even worse because Strijic nearly had his second penalty save of the game. It trickled in. I don't know if it played on the players' minds, like how. I think that was the equaliser. I don't know. I've blanked it from my mind. I don't think that really helped. In terms of games this season in the Premiership, that's probably up there with probably the funniest to watch in terms of how neither team wanted to score in the slightest, and it somehow ended up 3-2.
It was certainly an entertaining game, but one common link between the teams, you mentioned them in there, is Jordan White, ex-Livingston striker as well. How's Jordan done since going up to Dingwall?
Really well. He played for Cali, so when he signed for us, and it was Yogi, who's known for some questionable signings, we thought it might be a bit of a lazy one, but he's been a revolutionary, honestly. Like the start of this season, he was pretty crap, but he's back to how he was last season. I'd go so far to say as he kept us up along with Billy Mackay, which unfortunately left Ollie Shaw out the side, and he's off to Kilmarnock now. But his hold-up is second to none when he's on form. He can single-handedly drag us up the pitch, and he doesn't even need a strike partner. That's how Dominic Samuel struggled for minutes. Ollie's coming back now, and Alex Samuel, who we brought in to replace Ollie Shaw, has barely played. And Matthew Wright, obviously, when you have a youth prospect, he scores against Rangers. You want him to play more. He got that equaliser against Rangers, and he hasn't played since yet. So White's holding the fort really, really well.
I've got all the time in the world for Big Shags. He was very good for us. He was part of Great Escape and Challenge Cup winning side for us, and despite the fact he was playing in what was a pretty poor Livingston side at the time, he still managed to average, I think it was a goal every 3 games in the Championship, which is no mean feat given some of the players he was playing with at that point, especially his second season. So got a lot of time for him. And you mentioned him playing for Inverness. Is it not like a contractual obligation for Ross County and Inverness players to just go between each other? Is that not a thing?
Yeah, no, but we thought we were past signing them when they went down to the Championship and we came back up. Yeah.
I just assumed it was written into the contracts up there that if you play for one, you need to play for the other.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll let you have that.
Hey, you came out with hammer throwers, Ramsay. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But we're going with stereotypes, I see.
Looking ahead to Wednesday, what can we expect from Ross County, and who are the players that we really need to keep an eye out for?
First of all, Charles Cook, obviously, he missed a penalty back at the weekend. But if you told me or any Ross County fan that he'd be top scorer in the league, we'd either have laughed or just punched you in the face, because you would have needed your head spun, something's not right. But he's come back. I tell you what, he got called up to the Granada squad for, I think, the Confederations Cup over the summer.
Yeah.
And I think being a a key player in their side over the summer, did him a world of good, and he came back and he hasn't looked back. He got his first goal in the league for us against Aberdeen, and that probably was a huge boost to his confidence. Other players, I think Ross Callaghan's really coming onto a game. He was meant to be our sort of marquee signing in the summer. Obviously, hit double digits for that Hamilton side last season.
Yeah.
He was a bit slow at the start, which led us to question him a bit, and he actually found himself out of the side for a wee bit. But he's come back and he started hitting the goals more consistently. He scored against like a brilliant volley against Aberdeen, kept it low. There's a few to highlight, but they're all roughly at the same level. I think Kane Ramsay, the loanee at right back's been really good since he came in, really solid. But he had to go off at halftime with an allergic reaction. I don't know what it was. And Conor Randall, who he can't decide whether he wants to be Cafu or like, I don't know, someone bad. I can't come up with an example. But I think our players all over the pitch are roughly at the same level, apart from one or two outliers.
And if I was to push you for a prediction for the game, Ramsay, what are you going for? Do you think it's going to be another thriller like the game early on the season? Or is it going to be more like the game just before Christmas, which wasn't quite as thrilling?
It's going to be different from when we played you in the Scottish Cup, because Malcolm Mackay came out after that game and said that the players that played were the players available and it was second string. So either that or he was just trying to cover for not really caring about the cup. So we'll have everyone back, hopefully, although we've got a few injuries at centre back. We've got Baldwin's not fully fit. He's our vice captain. It's not going to be cagey. I think it's going to be, I don't think it's quite going to be 3-2, but I'll go for 2-1 County. 3-1 County, I'll be confident.
3-1 County.
I'm on Talk Livi, I'm sorry. So
it's fine. I'd fully expect you to back your team, Ramsay. It's absolutely fine. But you're part of the Staggies View podcast, and you do some articles as well. For any of our listeners that maybe haven't tuned in before, let us know where we can listen and when we can find you on social media.
We mostly post on Twitter. We have an Instagram account as well that we're trying to like stop being lazy and actually post on, which we started doing. But mostly our most consistent outlet is just Spotify, the podcast. And you can find us on staggiesview.com, the website. Not me recently, but a few of my mates, Robbie McDonald and Peter Mackay, have been putting really quality stuff up there lately. So yeah, give that a look.
Any of our listeners that want to hear the kind of county view on things for the game, I encourage you to go and listen to it. It's some really good content that the guys produce. But Ramsay, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really, really appreciate it. And hopefully you don't enjoy the game too much on Wednesday night, though.
Thanks for having me. I hope you hate it.
I'm making the trip up as well, and it's we keep getting you midweek as well. That's a horrible brutal. Midweek trip.
That should be a crime.
But yeah, I'll be heading up, so I hope I don't hate it, Ramsay. I really hope.
For your sake, I hope it's worth it, but for mine, I hope it's not. There we go.
Finally this week, Livy make the short trip along the M8 to Gorgie to take on high-flying Hearts in the Scottish Cup. Angus, I don't know about you, but when the draw was being made and I saw Hearts at home, I just knew that this was our cup tie. I just knew we were going to be the next team out the hat. It's probably one of the toughest ties we could have got, isn't it?
Out with the Old Firm, you are looking at, Hearts are quite clearly the best team, the best of the rest, essentially, from this season. The 5-0 loss just at the weekend there will take a wee bit of shine off of it for them, but, that's against Rangers who, would have been, those Bears would have been very angry following their capitulation during the week.
Very, very angry Bears. Very angry Bears.
I mean, that is delightful to usually see, but yeah, Hearts have been, very good for the most part of this season. They've got that kind of good balance that I don't think many other teams in the league have got. They're quite solid at the back. They've got good players and they've got a good spine in their team. And, they've got a good, decent attack as well. So, they're going to be a threat kind of at both sides of the park. You can never count out Craig Gordon. Depends if Suter wants to play or not, this week or what. Hopefully he's still taking the cream puff and won't be available for this match as well because he's a quality player. Yeah, they've got a really great team. Robbie Nielsen's done better this time round as manager. Well, to be fair, actually, his first time in charge wasn't too bad. But this time in the Premiership, they are what you expect from Hearts. You expect them to be, challenging for the third place, and it looks as if they're going to be walking to third place of a canter just because of the rest of the league not really being too great, to be honest with you. And I think that is maybe the main worry that will come from this match is, that there is quite a considerable gap between them and everybody else within the league. Our record at Tynecastle hasn't been too great. I know we've got a couple of draws there recently or whatever, but we've not won many games at Tynecastle. I mean, I don't know if you've got a stat that'll tell me when the last time that we won at Tynecastle was.
Last time we would have won at Tynecastle was our first season in the top flight. Would have been our last win at Tynecastle. So that would have been the final day when we beat them 3-2, I think. Anyone on Twitter is a statistician and wants to correct me, absolutely go for it. But I'm that's just off the top of my head, and you've not prepped me for that one. So that's off the top of my head the last time we won them.
And that just goes to show you that, they don't come around very often. But who knows, in a cup game, hopefully again, we'll be feeling that our tails are up and we can put in a good performance. It'll certainly be tough, but, why not? We've beat Hibs, we've beat Aberdeen recently. Hearts are a better team than both of them, but the performances have been good for us lately, and we do love a game on grass nowadays as well. So yeah, I think we should go into this, no proper fear. Obviously, be wary of the kind of targets and that, but there's no reason why we can't nick anything from this because our play essentially recently has deserved to do so. But yeah, it'll be an exciting one. I think it is. A couple of times we've gone to play Hearts that I've been like, oh, this is going to be a terrible game of football, but it's actually one that I'm a wee bit more optimistic for this time round.
Yeah, I think if you look at Hearts this season, that they are by far and away, I think, the best of the rest as such, and they will finish third at it looks like a canter. I think Hearts are always targeting the cup competitions and tend to do quite well in them, and the Scottish Cup is one that I'm sure they'll be targeting as trying to get to the latter stages. So it is the toughest tie we could have got outside of the Old Firm, but they are beatable. Hearts. It's not like you can't beat them and go to Tynecastle and get the result, but it's going to be a very tough game. I think they had players missing for the game at Ibrox, in particular in the back three. I think Craig Calcutt was missing. Obviously, Suter wasn't playing. Michael Smith was missing as well from the team. So they had some kind of big players which contribute massively to their good defensive record this season. So I think that played a big part, and I think Calcutt will be probably missing for this game coming up. And as you say, whether they'll play Suter or not remains to be seen. So, they've a little bit of inconsistency in their back three might give us a little bit of hope and give us an opportunity to go there and maybe cause a few problems. I think for me, I'm just looking for a much better performance than the last visit to Tynecastle, and I want us to go there and be like we were against Aberdeen. Go there, be aggressive, get in their faces, and try and make the best of this cup tie and go there. And it would be classed as an upset if we went there and won. So we're going to need to be absolutely bang at it if we're going to go there and win. It's a very difficult cup tie, I have to say. But hopefully, because it is just along the road, we can bring a decent crowd through, a noisy away support, because I think the players deserve it on recent form. And I think I think Davey mentioned that the crowd kind of helped carry us over the line against Aberdeen. So let's get a big crowd along. I think the pricing's really good for the game as well, and get a good vocal support through at Tynecastle to roar the team on. But in terms of selection, Angus, is there anyone you would like to see maybe come into the side? Obviously, we've got the game midweek, so there's that to think about as well.
Is Newbley available?
He's not cup tied. So he would be available, yes. So
suspension's over and that as well and everything, yeah?
Yeah.
I guess I would like to see, I think a physical presence like that would work quite well, especially if Hearts have got, kind of a makeshift back line. At times there's been, full-backs having to play centre-backs. You could maybe kind of target that with, such like a powerful presence like Newbley, trying to isolate some of those defenders one-on-one, and kind of essentially what we did against Hibs, against kind of a similar formation. Obviously, hopefully a wee bit more better luck than, with referees this time round rather than the one just there. But either that being him on the wing or through the middle, I wouldn't be too fussed. But I guess I would like to see Bruce Anderson retain his spot as well and play as well, just because you feel as if a chance is going to fall in the box to somebody, and if it falls to him, you're probably going to be most likely to score it. But yeah, I feel like most of the rest of the team, you know, you look at that back four and then the midfield three essentially kind of picks itself now, you know, with Penrice, Devlin, Oblai, Fitzwater, Omyonga, Holt and Pittman. It's essentially just who comes in from like the forward three. I guess based on form, Forrest has played himself into it as well. Or does, you know, Davy try and tactically keep it so, you know, we're in the game for a wee bit and then brings on a couple more players, you know, to try and like snatch it kind of late on. But again, it's just, we've spoke about this quite a few times recently. It's just great to have like these kind of options that we can rotate and don't feel as if the team's like much lowered. But yeah, for this particular match, I think I would like to see Newbley coming in and hopefully can run Hearts players will be a bit ragged, make it uncomfortable for them, having a big, massive presence, you know, taking the ball away from them. We've seen how yesterday Alfredo Morelos' physicality and kind of speed caused them a lot of issues in that. I don't believe there's any reason as to why Newbley can't cause something similar, just in being a nuisance essentially. But yeah, hopefully, you know, regardless of who plays, you know, the performance is still there from, you know, the Aberdeen game, and yeah, something to cheer about at Tynecastle.
Yeah, I think that's a decent shout. I think with the game being away from home, I think it's good to have a player that can take a bit of pressure off you. Not that, to be very clear, I think that's a big aspect that's improved with Bruce since the winter break. I think his hold-up play and getting us up the park has improved a lot on the first half of the season. So it's not to say he can't do that job, but obviously, as you say, Newbley is a big physical boy. He can ragdoll centre halves for fun. So it might be good to have him in the middle of that front three. I'd be keen to see Forrest and Bailey either side of him, two guys who can carry the ball and again help you get up the park, take a bit of pressure off, and offer that pace on the counter attack as well, and that little bit of quality that the two of them do bring to the side. It would be good to see. We didn't talk about it covering the Aberdeen game. We saw Adam Lewis back in the team. They're not playing since September. He's had a broken metatarsal, had an operation on that as well. So you also have the option of Adam, who I have to say, his dead balls in the Aberdeen game, I was really impressed with his delivery. He caused a lot of threats in the game. So we've got really good options all across the park. I think that's a big thing I can say since the winter break and our business in January is, if you look at our bench at the start of the season and you look at it now, you look at our bench and go, that is strong, and you've got really good options coming off it. So I think, again, it's a great headache for Davy to have in terms of who he picks for the team, but I'm a wee bit more confident going into this cup tie than when the draw was made. I think we've got a couple of big results against the bigger sides in the league, away at Easter Road, at home to Aberdeen. Gives me a little bit of confidence, Angus, that we can cause a little upset. So we'll go on to predictions. What do you think? Are we getting into the hat for the next round?
Well, the confidence that you've got is clearly seeping into me as well, because I'm going to back us and I'm going to go for a wee cheeky 2-1 victory. As you said with the St Johnstone one, you know, runs have to come to an end. We've not won at Tynecastle in X amount of time. Why not this time? 2-1 Livingston, Alan Forrest, absolutely going to do the business again. Call it.
I'm going to go 1-0. 1-0 Livy. And I think there'll be a bit of a backs to the wall. And classic, we'll probably score in the first 10 minutes and then it is going to be absolute backs to the wall for the rest of the game, and we'll manage to get the job done.
Mate, if we do that 1-0 and absolutely shithouse our way to a win, completely fine with that. Don't care.
I'm all for it. We broke the Aberdeen hoodoo. Let's break the Tynecastle hoodoo next. That's the next one to get corrected, let's say. So look, we're awfully confident, which can typically only mean one thing. When it comes to our predictions.
We're sorry, everybody, for ruining your Saturday.
Yeah, we apologise in advance if you do listen to the podcast. But get yourselves along to Tynecastle. I think the players deserve your support over the recent weeks, and I'm sure it will help them try and cause a bit of an upset in the Scottish Cup and get into the next round.
That's it for this week's episode of Talk Livi. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in week and week out. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Angus said, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search Talk Livi to find us, and you'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, though, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we have done over the last few years.
That's it for this week. Thanks again to all of our listeners for tuning in. Let's hope for another great week following the Lothian's finest football team. Come on, Livy!
Come on, Livy!
Livingston, oh Livingston, realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, to the